Okay, wow, from one pain to the next, we've changed clothes and the light's different. That's because what you were watching 10 seconds ago was recorded 6 days ago. Over the weekend, the internet was so chocked up, I couldn't even upload stuff. So you've met with success. The railroad now goes through your town. It's much easier and cheaper for people and goods to get there. The railroad itself is a major local employer. You have to have people working at the train station. You have to have people making sure the right-of-way is in good repair. And passengers are going to get off and want a place to shop or eat or spend the night. And now your farmers have access to a much larger market, so they can tackle, you know, commercial size agriculture. So, and things that become part of your life. Well, before I get past it, you're now synchronized. You have to be, because railroad schedules, train schedules, were the first human activity ever that had to be synchronized down to the minute over a large area. So now it does matter if your courthouse clock is synchronized with the other courthouse clocks. There have been time zones for quite a while. Somebody with time on their hands figured out that at one time or another there were 55 local or regional time zones in use in this country, all unofficial. It's the railroad companies that divided the continental U.S. into 4 time zones. That's long since gone global now, time zones. Okay. The sound of the train whistle. These are steam locomotives that have a whistle on there that it's a sound with personality. It's a sound that's like in full color. And even people of my generation barely even know what one sounded like. But just one little personal anecdote to flesh it out a little. You know, up in Fort Worth dockyards, they run a train up to Grapevine and back, and they've got this locomotive of over 100 years old, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Well, the original idea was they're going to drive that thing out to Granbury. They did it once. It didn't work out that well, but the day that thing arrived, my mother and my aunt were at my house. This is about 1993 or so, middle of the summer, and they were getting ready to leave. And see, they grew up in the era of there's still steam trains with those whistles. They never talked about it, but here comes the sound of this train whistle it floats out over the town, and they both cried. Just from the time machine aspect of hearing that thing. Okay. So, as I say, Granbury got train connections in 1887. Some towns were extra lucky. You know where Dublin, Texas is? Dublin was at the intersection of 2 major rail lines. That's hitting the lottery. It may have had more people in 1900 than it had until recently. But the Santa Fe went through one direction, you know, Stephenville down to Comanche and Brownwood, and what they call the Katy Railroad, short for MKT, which stood for Missouri, Kansas, and Texas, came through from the other direction. Next question. You know anything about Glenrose? Where's the train station in Glenrose? I don't think there ever was one. Glenrose was a spa town. The water stank like sulfur because it had sulfur in it. And I can remember we used to drive through Glenrose and have to roll the car windows up. That's kind of before we had air conditioners in the cars. Yes, I remember that. But people went to Glenrose to take the baths. So we're going to go next to railroads and industry, the rise of big business.